Good morning. I'm Nick Caldwell, Head of Territory for Invest Northern Ireland in Asia Pacific. Welcome to this, our first International Export Conference on China. Invest Northern Ireland and Northern Ireland Bureau in China are delighted that you've been able to attend to explore and understand the export opportunities in China and how Invest Northern Ireland and our partners are able to assist you both here in Northern Ireland and in market in China. Today, you will hear from a wonderful lineup of speakers. You will shortly be welcomed by Northern Ireland Minister for the Economy, Mr. Gordon Lyons, and subsequently from my boss, Invest Northern Ireland's International Business Director, Steve Harper. We are also joined by Madam Zhang, the China Consul General to Northern Ireland, and my close friend, Ms. Kira Lloyd, the Director of Northern Ireland Bureau in China. In our seminar sessions, you will hear from the INI China team and be able to share in experiences of Northern Ireland companies that are successful in China. We hope you find this conference stimulating, interesting, and hope to connect with those of you who would like to start your export journey to China. Now I will hand over to our Minister for the Economy, Mr. Gordon Lyons. Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Gordon Lyons, Minister for the Economy. Firstly, I would like to thank you all for attending this exciting and first of its kind International Export Conference on China. I would like to thank Invest NI Steve Harper for his kind invitation to make this opening address, and also welcome Madam Zhang, the Consul General for China to Belfast, and Ms. Kira Lloyd, Director of Northern Ireland Bureau in China, both of whom will address you today. 100 years ago, Northern Ireland was internationally renowned for its shipbuilding and its textile and shirt-making industries, and we exported these goods globally. Since then, we have continued to innovate so that today we are recognized as global leaders in advanced manufacturing, engineering, fintech, and health and life sciences. It is important that we continue to support industry to prepare for what tomorrow brings and ensure we are ready to embrace future economic trends and take advantage of the opportunities that a trade and export-driven economy can provide. China offers tremendous opportunities for Northern Ireland companies to export, and the appetite for Northern Ireland goods and services is increasing. In fact, Northern Ireland goods to China grew by almost a third, from just over 132 million for the financial year ending March 2017 to almost 174 million in financial year 2019-20. Growth in exports is critical to our strategic focus on transforming Northern Ireland into a vibrant, private sector-led economy, and many of you here today are among those helping us to achieve this. Although due to the pandemic, we have seen a decrease in exports in 2021, companies including BE Aerospace, Thomson Aero Seating, Prytech, Terex, Sandvik, Andor Technology, Randux, Caro, and Cranswick, and many more Northern Ireland companies are continuing to successfully drive export growth in this region. An important part of supporting Northern Ireland companies to increase their exports is having the right contacts on the ground. In 2017, Invest NI opened a new office in Hong Kong, which over the last 4 years has helped to support companies in this market to make new contacts and drive export growth. I'm sure you're looking forward to hearing today about just some of the experiences that those successful Northern Ireland companies like Terex, Thompson's Tea, and Early Years have had, and the assistance that Invest NI provided to support this both in market and on the ground in Northern Ireland. During the summer, my department launched its new 10-year vision for a 10x economy in Northern Ireland. The concept embraces innovation to deliver a 10x better economy that benefits all of our people and seeks to position Northern Ireland among the world's elite small advanced economies. Our ambition within this is to harness trade and investment as a catalyst for inclusive green growth to support our economic transformation. Put simply, the more we trade, the more competitive and prosperous we become. With a sharper focus on our target markets, priority clusters and technologies, We will enable those companies already active overseas to be more successful and support those of you not yet selling outside Northern Ireland to explore export opportunities. This is why events like today's conference are important for our economic future. I hope you all enjoy today and find out more about the support available to enable you to navigate China market complexities and to successfully identify, develop, and grow opportunities in this major market. I will now leave you with a video that sets out a little more about our 10X vision.
For such a small part of the world, we have always inspired a global reputation. From linen to liners, aircraft to agriculture, manufacturing to medicine, our innovators and inventors have gone beyond. And as the world has changed, so have we. For 100 years, we have put ourselves at the forefront of emerging industries to become leaders in everything, from creativity to cybersecurity. At the heart of all our success lies our people, their innovative nature and their drive to succeed. As strong now as they have ever been. Together, we're now facing up to the challenge of a global pandemic that has stopped not only our economy, but the global economy in its tracks, changing how we live, work, learn, and how we do business, forcing us to adapt and find new solutions, rethinking the norms of the past, while addressing additional challenges such as climate change. Our people thrive on adversity, adapting, evolving, and coming together to tackle head-on the challenges we face. So today, we are again ready to embrace the opportunities of a new world and a new global economy with a new economic vision that is both bold and ambitious. A future positive economic vision that will impact upon how you and your children live and work for many decades to come. Built on the foundations of our industrial past and the pioneers who have shaped us, we will once again create a vibrant, inclusive, forward-thinking Northern Ireland with innovation at its core. The next decade will define us. Together, we can build a bigger, brighter, and better economy. We invite you to join us and be part of an economic vision for a decade of innovation.
Good morning, and thank you to the Minister for the Economy for his opening address and for highlighting the importance of exporting to the Northern Irish economy. Thanks as well to Madame Zhang, the Chinese Consul General to Northern Ireland. She is a great supporter of Sino-Northern Irish relations and very keen to increase bilateral trade between Northern Ireland and China. I'd like to welcome the representatives from the various councils around Northern Ireland. Thank you to you for engaging with us to help deliver this conference. And finally, thank you to you, the representatives of the Northern Irish companies, for taking the time to attend. Hopefully today we can provide you with the opportunity to learn about the export potential in the Chinese market and how we can support you. My name is Steve Harper, and I'm the Executive Director for International Business within Invest Northern Ireland. I started my career in international business in Japan, working for Mitsubishi Materials, where I spent 3 years in Tokyo and 3 years in Singapore. Prior to joining Invest Northern Ireland, I was the Business Development Director for Wrightbus and was involved in significant business wins in both Hong Kong and Singapore. I've been with Invest Northern Ireland now for 5 years, and I have personal experience by being a client of Invest Northern Ireland of understanding how they can accelerate sales and how they can help you win business faster. And so for me, my number one priority when I joined the organization was to radically expand our presence overseas. Since 2017, we have added 11 new offices, and we now have 23 offices around the world. These included offices in Canada, Chile, Spain, Belgium, and a number of countries across the EMEA region. Within Asia Pacific, we opened offices in Sydney, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Tokyo. And we also took the opportunity to increase our presence in China by adding Guangzhou in southern China to our offices in Beijing and Shanghai. We do have plans for future investment in line with the Minister's stated 10X strategy, which will increase the value of exports from Northern Ireland, It will increase the number of companies who are selling outside of Northern Ireland for the very first time. We will strengthen our presence in established markets around the world, and we will also diversify into new markets where we have identified high growth potential areas where Northern Ireland has a competitive strength. In 2016, Invest Northern Ireland's client-managed companies exported £103 million to China. Despite the global pandemic in 2020, we saw an increase in those exports to approximately £192 million, nearly a twofold increase. Today, our team in Asia Pacific works with almost 100 companies across multiple industry sectors. And since April of this year, they have delivered almost 140 individual interventions to help companies win business. Our teams around the world have been a vital resource over the course of the last 2 years, as companies here in Northern Ireland have been unable to travel to market. Northern Ireland, like many other small economies, sells a limited range of products and services. And despite the gains that we talked about in terms of our exports, Northern Ireland still generally underperforms when compared to the rest of the UK, particularly in exports to China and Asia Pacific. Turning to China, well, as you know, it's the world's second largest economy and the most populous country. And it's the only major economy to avoid a contraction in the last year, where we saw 2.3% growth. China's economy has continued to grow post-pandemic. Indeed, it's the only G20 country recording growth of 11.5% in the second quarter of 2020. Growth is forecast to continue. So how can we help you take advantage? Our role is to educate and inform you about the opportunities to export, to provide assistance, not just financial, but advisory, domestically in Northern Ireland and in market to explore new markets, so that you can make informed decisions as to whether the market is attractive to you and whether your company has the capability, resources, and capacity to undertake these new export markets. In essence, we're providing you with the knowledge that enables you to make informed investment decisions. Once a decision has been made, we then provide you with domestic and on-the-ground in-market support and assistance to execute your export strategy. Our international teams keep abreast of policy and sectoral developments to understand the implications, risks, and business opportunities. This is especially important in China, where the government plays a key role in sectoral development and policy intervention. You will hear more about this in the discussions to come. Export is the engine of growth. Without it, we will not grow the Northern Irish economy. The more we export, the more we become competitive, and the more prosperous we as a society become. We recognize the export potential in the Chinese market, and we're keen to align the Chinese demand with Northern Ireland's strengths. And that is why events like today's are so important. So in conclusion, you will hear much more about our sectoral approach across Asia Pacific and the Chinese market. You're going to hear from Northern Irish companies who've been there and done it. You're going to hear about the opportunities that they've been able to see, but also the risks that they have seen and how they mitigated those risks. You will also hear about the specific on-the-ground support that Invest Northern Ireland can bring to you. And finally, I'd like to thank you all again for taking time out of your busy day to attend, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you all in person again soon. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so delighted to attend the NI International Export Conference on China. On behalf of the Chinese Consul General in Belfast, may I wish the conference to be a full success. I also wish to thank Invest NI and NI Bureau in China for having meticulously organized this great event. I would like to start by focusing popular advertisements in NI, namely, a great welcome to Northern Ireland. You are one step close to a giant myth. China is a giant country that offers great potentials and opportunities for cooperation to all countries and regions in the world, including UK and NI. As China is moving towards a new development paradigm, deepening cooperation with China has become a common consensus and a far-sighted move of the NI government and the NI business community. I would also like to share with you some of my thoughts. First, on China's overall economic situation. In 2021, the Chinese government has achieved significant results in coordinating the prevention and control of the pandemic and the economic and social development. In the first half of this year, China's GDP totaled 53.2 trillion yuan, up 12.7% year-on-year. The total import and export of goods exceeded 18 trillion yuan. The actual use of foreign investment amounted to 607.8 billion yuan. Being the world's second largest economy and the world's largest manufacturing country, China has contributed more than 30% to the world economic growth for years, making it the main engine and stabilizer of the world economic growth. Second, cooperation highlights the 14th Five-Year Plan. In 2020, the 14th Five-Year Plan and the 2035 vision was formulated. This year is the first year of the 14th Five-Year Plan, 2021 to 2025. China will implement the new development concept and build a new development paradigm with the domestic circulation as the mainstay and the domestic and international markets reinforcing each other. Here, I have sorted out some key areas and industries, which mainly include: firstly, adopt innovation to promote the derivation of new industries. China will deeply implement the innovation-driven development strategy, targeting frontier areas such as artificial intelligence, quantum information, integrated circuits, life and health, brain science, biological breeding, air and space technology, deep earth and deep sea. China will also formulate international science and technology innovation centers to encourage the enterprises to invest in R&D. Secondly, key areas of modern industrial upgrading. China insists on unswervingly building a manufacturing power, a quality power, a network power, and a digital China, strengthening international industrial cooperation and forming an industrial supply chain. China will also focus on the development of a new generation of information technology, biotechnology, new energy, new materials, high-end equipment, new energy vehicles, green environment protection, promote the significant role of the internet, big data, artificial intelligence in the development of the digital economy. Thirdly, new domestic development pattern, cultivating new opportunities. China will open up the links of production, distribution, circulation, consumption to optimize supply, improve the quality of supply, and form a strong domestic market. China will further promote the convergence of domestic and foreign trade laws and regulations, qualifications, and drive to realize the same standards. At the same time, China will increase imports of high-quality products and focus on the quality and branding. Thirdly, China's new policies and initiatives for expanding openness. China will open still wider to the outside world by relying on the large domestic market. Firstly, building a new system of high-level open economy. China will continue to promote liberalization and facilitation in trade and investment, improve the management system of national treatment, protect the legitimate rights and interests of foreign-funded enterprises, while keeping improved the private free trade zones like Shanghai Pudong New District, Great Bay Area, and promoting the construction of Hainan Free Trade Port, and continue to run the International Import-Export, Guangdong Fair, International Fair for Trading Services, International Consumer Products Expo, Shanghai Agriculture and Food Expo, etc. Secondly, promote the high-quality development of the Belt and Road Initiative jointly. UK is an important partner of the Belt and Road Initiative. China will continue to deepen economic and trade cooperation with the Belt and Road countries and regions to promote common development. Thirdly, actively participate in the reform of the global economic governance system. China will, on the basis of equal consultation, mutual benefit, uphold multilateral trading system, participate in the reform of the WTO. Fourthly, suggestions by the Chinese Consul General on deepening economic and trade cooperation with China. Firstly, the business community of NI will tap its own potential to come up with distinctive and competitive industries and technologies. NI has unique advantages in many fields, such as high-quality agricultural product processing, high-end manufacturing, financial services, green environment protection, life and health, which can fully match with the priorities of China's future development and achieve complementary advantages for win-win results. Secondly, enterprises in NI can learn from each other and share experiences. Recent years have witnessed more and more Northern Ireland enterprises successfully entering the Chinese market, and economic and trade cooperation has yielded tangible results. Especially in November 2020, 70 NI enterprises organized a team to participate in the third Shanghai International Import-Expo, during which China Resources Pharmaceutical and Commercial Group and Invest NI signed an agreement worth of more than £20 million, setting a record of NI industries doing business in China. In addition, Thompson Aviation Seeds, SDC Trailers, and Dairy Liquor Factory NI that were invested by China have all achieved good economic and social benefits. We have always recommended to establish NI China Chamber of Commerce to create a unique platform necessary for NI companies to increase cooperation with China. Thirdly, the Chinese Consul General is willing to strengthen communication with the economic and trade organizations in NI by offering services and relevant information and policies. We will continue to serve as a bridge linking NI enterprises. We will invite more Chinese enterprises and Chinese invested companies in UK to come to NI to discuss with their counterparts in NI. Ladies and gentlemen, although China and I are tens of thousands of miles apart, we are always connected with each other and pursuing win-win cooperation. China and I will always be great friends and partners. I do believe that with our joint efforts, we will yield more tangible benefits for the benefit of our two peoples and for the sustained and healthy development of China-UK relations. Thank you.
Good morning. I am really delighted to see so many of our local councils and businesses represented at this first ever Northern Ireland focused International Export Conference on China. My name is Ciara Lloyd, and I am the director of the Northern Ireland Bureau in Beijing. I have worked in the Northern Ireland Civil Service for nearly 20 years in a variety of departments, including agriculture, justice, the Northern Ireland office, and even for a short but memorable period for Invest NI. I am currently posted to Beijing, where I work for the Executive Office. My job as director of the Northern Ireland Bureau China is, put simply, to represent and promote Northern Ireland in China. This includes presenting the executive's official policy on devolved matters to Chinese central, provincial, and municipal government organizations. The Bureau also encourages and supports the work of other public bodies, councils, educational and commercial organizations from Northern Ireland, either currently doing business with or hoping to do business with Chinese organizations. Behind that rather dry description lurks a multitude of activity, all geared towards three main objectives: increase trade and investment, increase educational partnerships and students from China, and increase tourism. So how do we do that? Primarily, the Bureau uses soft power interventions, meaning that we use tools such as culture, sports, and people-to-people exchanges to increase awareness of Northern Ireland and create relationships which can then be leveraged into outcomes and outputs for Northern Ireland. In doing so, we work closely with in-market partners such as Invest NI and Tourism Ireland. For example, if you cast your minds back to the beginning of the pandemic, you might recall there being significant concern over a lack of personal protective equipment, or PPE, for healthcare workers. and that there was worldwide competition for these scarce resources. China is the main manufacturer and supplier of PPE in the world, and working together, NIB China and InvestNI were able to use our contacts to secure £60 million worth of PPE, over 117 million pieces of PPE in total. The Bureau is also able to intervene at a political level by, for example, unblocking barriers to trade through intercession with the Chinese government and through representing Northern Ireland's priorities and interests with the British Embassy and working with the Irish Embassy. This is the case, for example, when it comes to resolving market access issues. We're also in a position to support InvestNI at a governmental level with their sectoral development and trade journey strategies. Another method used by the Bureau is to develop relationships at a subnational level within China. China is vast, and a lot of responsibility is given to provincial governments and to cities, particularly when it comes to trade. Northern Ireland is partnered with 2 provinces in China, Liaoning and Hubei, and several of our councils have developed sister and friendship city relationships with cities across China. Our partner provinces and cities have similar economic histories and objectives to us, and therefore have more potential to collaborate with us. This enables us to access decision makers and policy developers that make decisions for almost 200 million people. Our councils in particular have worked hard to develop relationships at a local level through visits and cultural exchanges. The next stage is to leverage these into commercial trade activity, and the in-market China team of InvestNI and NIB China will be working closely with our local councils to move this forward. Once business travel opens up, we will be organising and supporting trade missions with a sectoral focus for those companies who are ready to export to China. However, we're not just planning on sitting back and waiting for international travel to resume. We are planning virtual engagements, business-to-business matching, sectoral introductions to major players in the Chinese market, and more besides. You're going to hear a lot more about this in the sessions that are coming up. China is not an easy market, but it is the second largest economy in the world. And for those that have the patience and make the investment, it is highly lucrative. And as Northern Ireland businesses, you have a big advantage over your competitors in the rest of the UK and in Ireland. You have direct access to a dedicated team of in-market experts in China in InvestNI and a bureau that exists to support your needs. We are a small country, but we have the ability and the dedication to punch well above our weights. I hope you enjoy the rest of this conference, and I look forward to meeting some of you, either at home or here in China in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, for your opening remarks on Northern Ireland's 10X economic vision, and to Steve and Ciara for their insightful speeches and information about InvestNI and Northern Ireland Bureau's international business. Madam Zhang, thank you for supporting this conference and updating our audience on China's development and international activity over the last few years. We will now have a 15-minute intermission. When we return for the second part of the conference, which is seminar-based, we will feature Invest Northern Ireland's team in China and include case studies of Northern Ireland exporters to China, and show you how Invest Northern Ireland and our partners support you domestically in Northern Ireland and in market. During the intermission, we'll be playing some short films that explain InvestNI's work at home and overseas. Thank you.